Mushroom foraging. It's one of the most magical experiences we can have in the woods. When we are successful, it feels like finding the X at the end of the treasure map. And when we spend hours searching, we discover nature's mysteries around every corner. If you are new to foraging, chanterelles can be a great place to start due to their relatively distinct characteristics. We'll walk you through their features as well as what types of trees and understory plants they like to grow with. Here in the Pacific Northwest, we're nearing the end of mushroom season, but as we walked through the woods on this particular day, we found so many different kinds of mushrooms, both edible and non-edible, still popping up. The way we see it, to be a forager is to also be an adventurer. Don't be afraid to go off the beaten track while looking for mushrooms. In fact, you may need to in order to find areas that have not been over-harvested. Chanterelles can be notoriously good at hiding. They most frequently grow in deep, lush moss, which can make spotting them tricky. Their peachy to bright orange color helps with spotting them, and the more you get out and practice training your eye, the more success you will have. It's important to clean any mushroom you forage before putting it in the bag. All the loose bits of moss and dirt will transfer from one mushroom to another and leave you with tedious cleaning to do when you get home. Let's get into the distinct features of chanterelles. Chanterelles do not have true gills that can be brushed back and forth. We refer to these underdeveloped gills as veins because you cannot move them with a finger. Further, these veins are decurrent, which means that they run down the stem of the mushroom rather than stopping sharply where the cap meets the stem. Chanterelles are mycorrhizal mushrooms, which means they grow in association with trees, and specifically conifers. In the Pacific Northwest, that means Douglas firs and western hemlock trees. Douglas firs are one of our most common trees due to logging demand, and they are easy to identify by their deeply cracked bark and greenish tint. Chanterelles typically grow out of lush mossy ground, and we specifically find them in a moss called feather moss. Looking a little bit higher, you'll want to look for plants like salal, sword ferns, and Oregon grape growing out of this moss. About halfway through our forage, the paper bag I was carrying our mushrooms in broke from the bottom. So here's how to improvise a new bag out of a sweater. Many foragers like using a basket or mesh bag, particularly because these allow spores to continue to fall out as you wander around. But whatever you choose, make sure it's breathable so that the mushrooms do not get slimy. As magical as foraging is, it can also be draining, so don't forget to pack lots of snacks and consider finishing up when it's starting to feel like a chore. As hard as it can be to motivate yourself to do the mushroom processing when you get home after a long forage, I would highly recommend that you do it the same day so that your mushrooms maintain their best texture and flavor. We like to fry our chanterelles using a dry fry method, which means that you let the pan heat up to a good medium heat, but do not add any oil to the pan. Then throw in enough mushrooms that they cover the bottom of the pan, but are not stacked on top of each other. If they're stacked on top of each other, as the moisture evaporates, the lower down mushrooms will steam the top mushrooms. Once all the water has cooked out of the mushrooms and they are starting to brown, it's time to add some oil. Add in however much salt to your mushrooms, and then fry them until they've reached a level of crispiness and browning that you like. Once you have that, they're ready to come off and enjoy in any meal that you think they might be good in.